As the fourth industrial revolution emerges globally, the development and application of technology is inevitable. Central to this will be SATCAP projects. For 2021, SATCAP has focused on creating awareness, understanding and acceptance for mining modernization. The 2021 projects are focused on skills development to support a modern workforce for modern mining. We know that SATCAP is the successful application of technology centered around people research program. As a research program, it seeks to understand the challenges, effects and impacts of mining modernization on the people in the mining sector. It also looks at how people relate to each other and with technology in the process of modernization. Centered on people, SATCAP is focused on people-related technology enablers, tools and solutions for potential uptake of solutions for industry use and business improvement opportunities. A glimpse into the SATCAP's 2021 work packages. Join us on a journey. SATCAP has brought unions, MIMSA, OEMs, suppliers, MHSC, 3 mining universities and research partners together into a think tank, and this is where it led. Early in the journey, stakeholders' immersions tours were successfully held to mining universities. The intent was to create an awareness, understanding and acceptance for mining modernization. Immersions into modern mining training context allowed for stakeholders to smell, taste, touch and feel what is possible in terms of modern mining training. The skills and people-centric workplace packages are aimed at the art of possible for modernizing training. In a world where innovation is a necessity, constant change brings a need for continual upskilling, reskilling and cross-skilling. No one can move forward and improve on production efficiency and mine modernization if they're not able to develop their frontline leaders and workers in the new way. Which is why we see upskilling and reskilling of our people as being critical and have considered the development of a modern foundational supervisory and leadership development program for mines. SATCAP and its partners have developed a first-of-its-kind, interactive, immersive and blended supervisory leadership program currently with immersive content and 4th IR technology for the benefit of our frontline leaders in mining. Innovative AET, Adults Education Training, is critical and is a big challenge to the development of our employees, communities and country. Without digital literacy skills, our workforce may not be able to keep pace with digital innovations and the basic usage thereof. Digital literacy skills become crucial for mining modernization. The use of 4IR technology is being applied and tested in the front line of our mines by miners and RDOs. Our project aims to bring the best of the past with the best of the future technology for safer mining and efficiency. The term industrial revolution tends to bring our focus purely on technologies. However, this would be inaccurate. The focal point of 4IR is people, and SATCAP at its fundamental level appreciates people as those who will be impacted by the modern mining technologies, systems and processes. So, inclusion of stakeholders and taking stakeholders along on the modernization journey is at the heart of SATCAP. The SATCAP 2021 work packages aim to demonstrate the art of possibility around a modern workplace for modern mining. The potential impact focuses on mitigating risk like job losses and maximizing economic impact for South Africa through, for example, job preservation and job creation. Reskilling, upskilling and cross-skilling and new skills may illustrate the renewed value to the mining ecosystem. Real mining industry stakeholder needs were considered, with art of possible solutions investigated for potential transfer to industry. Inclusion of stakeholders is critical to mining modernization. Unions, NUM, UASA, AMCU, Solidarity, NUMSA have identified the Mandela Mining Precinct as a potential vehicle for their inclusion in mining modernization and requested to be involved in the Mandela Mining Precinct's research planning processes. We look forward to the realization of this future. SATCAP will demonstrate its 2021 projects with its skills focus to support a modern workforce for modern mining in January 2022. Join us in 2022 for the SATCAP Showcase, where through the art of possible, some potential value for the industry may be unearthed. As the fourth industrial revolution emerges globally, the development and application of technology is inevitable. Central to this will be SATCAP projects. For 2021, SATCAP has focused on creating awareness, understanding, and acceptance for mining modernization. The 2021 projects are focused on
Good morning, everybody. I'm just going to wait for a minute for us to actually start the SATCAP Skills Workshop and Immersion session. We've just got a minute more to start. Thank you. Welcome everybody to the SATCAP Skills Workshop and Immersion. Thank you for your attendance today and for your participation. Best wishes for 2022. The purpose of today's session is to share with you the 2021 projects, and importantly, as our projects are still in progress and about only 80% complete, we need your validation and further insights to finalize the project outcomes. All of your inputs and comments will be most valuable. The Mandela Mining Precinct has commissioned its 2021 research projects to the CSIR, Win-Win International, Wits University, University of Pretoria. And as per the need of the study, resources and expertise, the studies were actually commissioned accordingly, but to also note that OEMs were included in the projects itself. The SATCAP projects will be showcased today. And just in terms of housekeeping, please keep yourself muted. Please keep your videos off. Please use the chat box for comments. Seppo and Vessel will be monitoring the chat box for comments and questions. So thank you so much. I would also like to kindly remind all of our researchers and presenters to remain mindful of the time allocated today because we have a lot to go through. So if we can just accommodate each other, thank you so much for that. I would also like to now hand over to Anthea Safi, who is our SATCAP TSE chairperson, for her welcome and introductory remarks. Anthea, if you can put on your video and share with us a few remarks. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Shireen and everybody else. I'm going to try and get the camera to focus on me and not the ceiling. Thank you very much. It's a privilege to join all of you this morning. I'm really pleased to see that there almost, well, I think there's over 50 of us here this morning. So thank you for joining us. We are delighted to share our contribution to the art of possible with you. I believe that our technical steering committee had a really good 2021. We were supported by really good partners, excellent researchers, and line management who were eager to assist us regardless of the company they represented in the industry. As you've probably picked up from the video, our purpose is self-explanatory, and we really want to contribute to implementing applicable technology that is centered around people, because we acknowledge that it is in the strength, the competence, and the willingness of the people who will make any implementation of change successful. We had 4 projects during 2021, all of them based on or contributing to modern training for a modern workforce. We had 4 work packages, which included an impact on an impact on jobs, skills, and people-centric modernization, as well as AR at the test mine. Our researchers investigated AR and VR training, leadership development for supervisors, and digital literacy for the workforce. I can assure you that it did seem as though all 4 of those projects were rather dissimilar, but I think you would agree with me that when put together, they were each valuable in their own right, and I think they contributed to the art of possible in the way that we had hoped. We hope that the industry will see these results as having met your mandated research questions and guidelines which you gave us in 2020 and 2021. We look forward to a continuation of similar themes in 2022. May I take the opportunity to thank a few people. Our dedicated researchers who on many occasions had to implement last-minute changes that were necessary to ensure compliance with all our COVID protocols. I sincerely hope that your research program will be a little less strenuous and less interrupted this year. We would like to thank the TSC members specifically, as well as their respective line management teams, for assistance in 4 areas. Not only did they identify needs which informed our business plan, but they supported our SATCAP project. They helped us gather the relevant information, and they helped us by allowing us to pilot their studies on their mines. Also, may I thank you, Dr. Rampersad, Shireen. Without your continuous follow-up, regular review of the drafts, and your meticulous attention to detail, we would not have been able to present the results today. In conclusion, I trust that all of you will enjoy the workshop and that you will be able to find something that you can apply at your operations this year.
Anthea, thank you kindly for such kind words, and to the SATCAP TSC as well. Thank you for your guidance and continued support on the projects. Really, really appreciate it. I'd now like to just hand over to our SATCAP intern, Mafiwa Rama Labana, who will provide us with a safety share. Mafiwa, thank you. I am assuming Mafiwa has some sort of connectivity issue this morning, but I think just from a safety point of view, if I could just remind us that we need to adhere to the COVID protocols. Remember that we need to actually sanitize. Please remember that we still need to social distance, wear our masks. And I think as well as in terms of gender sensitivity during this time, also please just remind ourselves to actually be gender sensitive. And then I think finally, in terms of POPIA, let us also remember that we need to actually protect each other's personal information. In terms of our values, Our values in terms of the Mandela Mining Precinct aims to deliver brilliance through people centricity, collaboration, innovation, and with integrity. And I love stories. So a very quick story on collaboration with the lesson for us is that during the devastating Haiti earthquake of January 2010, the British Red Cross immediately went into action. They gathered thousands of workers, from volunteers to frontline disaster specialists who were all mobilized into a community of purpose. The common factor amongst those people is that they did outstanding work, they did it with integrity, they did it ethically, and they did it with pride. Most importantly, they did it together for a common purpose. What this tells us is that we can achieve much when we have people with multiple ideas working together for a common goal, and it tells us that teamwork makes the dream work. So collaboration is a key tenet for the precinct. In terms of the program itself, the next session is our panel discussion. And in terms of our panel discussion, we're actually going to have a discussion per project, and it's just going to give you some high-level insights into the projects, because obviously in the next session, there's going to be more engagement into the projects itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pose a few questions to the research around the projects, and I would like that the research team just put on their videos, introduce themselves, and I'm going to have 15 minutes per project team lead, just for a Q&A quick session. It will just give you an overview and a feel of the projects itself. And then what we will do thereafter is that in the next session is where the audience will be able to engage with the researchers themselves. So to the audience, I would like to please keep your questions and comments for the breakaway sessions to follow, wherein you'll be afforded time to engage with the researchers, but please feel free to put your comments onto the chat box as well. So I'd like to actually invite the CSIR team, who was responsible for work package 2.1, which is our supervisory leadership development program, to actually join me so that we could just get just a few insights in terms of the work package 2.1 itself. Sumaya, thank you.
Thank you, Shireen. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sumaya Khan, Senior Researcher at the CSIR Mining Cluster. I am the Project Manager for Work Package 2.1, and this work package was undertaken in collaboration with Louis Allen and Win-Win International. Louis Allen provided the existing foundational supervisory leadership program content, and Win-Win International was more involved in developing of the digitized training solution.
Thank you so much, Sumaya. So Sumaya, we know that mining companies are actually doing lots of supervisory leadership development work currently. So why was this project important for the mining industry?
Okay, so firstly, the aim of this project was to support supervisor leadership development towards leading and driving mining modernization. So this was done by developing a foundational supervisory leadership development training solution on a digital platform to support a modern training approach. So one may ask the question, why supervisor leadership? Well, simply because supervisors are a crucial link between higher management and mine workers, hence being one of the key drivers of change in modernization. The project was therefore important to ensure that mine supervisors stay relevant when it comes to attaining skills required for a modernizing mine. Thank you.
Thanks, Sumaya. So Sumaya, if a mining company wanted to update their current supervisory leadership development program, and I know there's a whole array of modules that you guys have designed, but what are some of the key areas for our frontline leaders to be able to lead and drive mining modernization? Thank you.
Okay. Well, firstly, the topics in the modules should include modernization and change management principles, as well as the skills required for change management during modernization. And just to add, the training methodology itself should include elements of modernization, example, a blended learning approach that uses both digital and classroom-based training. I also think that inclusivity of stakeholders is a crucial aspect to consider when updating the current programs so that holistic and meaningful decisions can be made. And without going into too much details on the modules themselves, if participants attend the Work Package 2.1 demonstration in Breakaway Room 1 during the next session, then some of the program modules will be highlighted there.
Great. Thanks, Sumaya, for that. So, Sumaya, I think interestingly, maybe if I can just ask a question around, so what did the supervisors in the mining companies have to say about a modern approach to upskilling of supervisors?
All right, so based on the interviews that we had with supervisors during the pilot study, the digitized method created a fun and engaging learning experience. It saves time, it enables self-paced learning, and it was easy to access additional resources at their own will. On the downside, the participants indicated that they missed the face-to-face interaction with the facilitator and with other participants. And the use of technology also posed a challenge to some of the older participants. So those are some of the things to consider if the technology is to be implemented.
So I suppose then, Sumaya, in terms of the project itself, that's why recommendations have come through in terms of a blended learning methodology and just not one methodology like a digital methodology to be used. So in terms of the pilot done, what were just some of the key findings, very at high level, in terms of using of digital methodologies for training of supervisors? And I think you've given us some answers, but maybe just some of the things that came through. Thanks.
Okay. So firstly, the strength of Wi-Fi, the learning management system or hardware used may be limiting factors if not set up appropriately for specific working environments. Secondly, challenges may arise if participants are not used to these technologies, as mentioned previously. And both the traditional classroom training as well as the new digital online solution offers advantages for supervisory leadership development. Therefore, as mentioned, the blended learning approach would be the ideal solution going forward to supervisory leadership development. And also, one thing to remember is that the new technologies and learning methodologies offer various new opportunities that will enhance not just the learning experience for the supervisors, but may also positively impact the business itself.
Great, thank you so much for that, Sumaya. And just a last question. We know that in terms of the program today, we're going to be actually showing the industry what the solution will be offering, just at high level, maybe just some exciting things that will be offered to the mines for potential use.
Okay, firstly, the blended approach that's highlighted again. This would combine classroom training with a digitized learning experience that provides interaction with other participants and with a facilitator. The training content should ideally be customizable according to specific needs, according to specific job functions. It should be integratable with the supervisor's practical work. It should be impact oriented, and it should ensure individual growth. So the solution aims to save time and deliver effective learning.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Sumaya. We really appreciate all the efforts. We will be joining you in room 1 during the demonstration session. So thank you so much for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
In terms of Work Package 2.2, it was the digital literacy skills for youth and community, and Wits was the research lead on this. I'd like to invite either Nancy or Ingrid to actually assist us with this slot. Thank you so much. If you could put your video on and help us. Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, Shireen. I'm Nancy Coulson. I'm actually with Ingrid Watson, so we're together in the same room. I'm going to just introduce the research and answer some of your questions, Shireen. And then in room 2, we'll be discussing the research with Ingrid and with other researchers who are part of this call. I think just to emphasize before I start is that we were asked to look at AET learners, adult education training learners, who tend to be older mine workers who perhaps haven't had the opportunity to complete schooling. And we were then asked to look at youth on portable skills programs and to look at the role of digital literacy skills for those particular target groups.
Thanks. So thank you so much for that overview, Nancy. Really appreciate it. So in terms of the project itself, what is the value of this project for stakeholders, for mining employees and community youth?
Okay, so I think I'd like to start by really emphasizing that, and it was a little bit in Sumaya's introduction to her research too, that actually in South Africa, probably one of our biggest challenges is digital poverty. In that what we really found in our research is that how we learn digital skills is really through access. And if we all like to think about our own experience of learning how to be in the digital platforms, it really comes through exposure and access. So if you have access to a smartphone, if you have access to internet, good Wi-Fi, then all of us learn these skills. You know, we only have to look at the young people around us to see that that's actually how it happens. And the key thing we really found in our research is that's also true for mine workers, and that's true for young people too. So our biggest challenge really is to address the digital poverty, and that the skills training, there is value in the skills training, but it cannot be at the, you know, without the development of infrastructure. And then the other key thing we found in our research as well is that there's a lot of appetite for this kind of learning. I think young people really know that digital literacy is about the workplace and it's about future opportunities. And mine workers realize that too. And so nobody is resistant to learning these skills, but it will have to be alongside the infrastructure and access to devices. So if a mine was to embark on this kind of work and decide, yes, we want to introduce digital skills into our communities, into our AET learning programs, I think the impact could be huge. And I'm saying that because it will have to go alongside investment in infrastructure too, whether that's a training center, whether that's broadband into a local community, etc. Once you have that, then you have opportunity for alternative economies to be developed. And for example, one of the things that was drawn to our attention through this research, and we spent quite a lot of time engaging with Harambee, which is one of the government-backed initiatives for youth employment. And they have a digital skills accelerator, work accelerator program, is that global business services, you know, the development of call centers and that kind of work is growing at 30% per annum in South Africa. There's enormous opportunity. So I think actually, even though we weren't asked to quantify or to look specifically at the development of a digital economy around a mine, what I see is that by providing access and digital skills for youth particularly, and for mine workers who may or may not have a future in a modernized mine, it really could have an enormous impact.
Thank you so much, Nancy. I think you've answered lots of my questions. 100% sure, you know, whether you'd like to add on in terms of, you know, I know you've already indicated that there would be huge impact and benefit to the mines. Is there anything you'd like to further elaborate on in terms of, you know, us being able to offer digital literacy skills and the potential impact and benefit?
Yes, maybe. I mean, we were also asked to consider, you know, like what's useful for mines to understand about this area. And apart from the sort of potential for the enormous impact, I think what are some of the key things that they could add in terms of how this work could be done? So one of the things is that at the moment, our target groups, their only access to devices is largely smartphones. And often those smartphones will be shared as well between several people. And really to develop digital literacy skills, and I think we only have to look at ourselves for this, is that usually it's about access to devices beyond a smartphone, whether it's a tablet or a laptop. And I think that is something which is important, that if we want to develop more advanced digital skills, we need to give people access to other devices. And again, this is where a training center, which has very good broadband, which is maybe linked to a work readiness program for youth, could be very, very helpful. The other thing I think as well is that digital literacy is generally not well understood. So it's funny because we, even as researchers, were like, well, so what actually do we mean by digital literacy? What is it? We use the term, but what is it? And in the end, we kind of drilled it down into 5 easy takeaway areas, which we can talk about in the workshop session. And I think if those sessions, if those 5 areas are better understood, as the current skills programs and qualifications are set up under SATCAP, there are these critical cross-field outcomes, which actually align very nicely with digital skills. So there is no reason why in our existing programs we can't be teaching digital literacy. We don't necessarily need to wait for a dedicated module. So for example, cross-cutting skills are things like being able to communicate effectively. Well, most of our communication now is often online. So you can teach that kind of online communication as part of an existing qualification, or how to collaborate. You know, we collaborate online, we're doing that now. So there's no reason why we can't do these things. The other thing we picked up as well is that youth, and to some extent mine workers who are on these AUT programs, and also their trainers and the managers around them, are not fully versed in the kind of technology changes that are happening at a mine site. And that's actually a missed opportunity. So particularly young women, for example, don't realize how the introduction of digital technologies will completely change what mine work looks like. And actually there are enormous opportunities for young women. And I think we're not communicating that adequately. And that was clear in the research too. And also maybe lastly, just for mines to be aware that we don't, currently under our qualifications and our SATCAP framework, there isn't a skills program around digital literacy skills, which is a ready to take and use qualification. So we did source other things for mines to use, but it's maybe important to realize that there isn't an obvious product under the current SATCAP framework that can be used in the sector.
So thanks so much for all of those insights, Nancy. They're most valuable. I know that in room 2, you're actually going to continue with the demonstration and the workshop and the discussion itself. But very briefly, I think maybe you just have about 30 seconds or so. What will the solution be offering for my potential use? Maybe a minute.
So the solution in 30 seconds is we really want to talk to representatives from mining companies here about the opportunities which the Harambee project and the SA.mobi app provides for young people, which also includes digital literacy training, and it's actually for free. We also know there is a well-developed course out there which can be used and integrated into a training program right now. And we also want to talk about the value of a customized product in the mining sector. And that's what we'll be talking about.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you so much. Thank you for being so brief and actually for all the insights you've given to us. Really, really appreciate it. We will see you in room 2 shortly. Thank you. So in terms of work package 3, it was the VR solution for miners, and University of Pretoria Enterprises actually led that research. The research lead is Bessel Buerta, and Bessel, I'd like to invite you to join me so that we can put you in the hot seat to answer a few questions. Thanks.
Good morning, Shireen, to all the participants. Compliments for 2022.
Right. So Bessel, thank you so much for joining us. I think importantly, why do we need this VR training solution? We know the mining companies are actually using lots of VR training, and why do you think that the solution becomes important?
Well, Shireen, we've been tasked with finding one of these modern methodologies for training. And I think one of the key words that's come through is the word a blended approach. And the need for a blended approach for the development or the upskilling of miners. There is still traditional classroom-based training that we offer, and that is still working well. So I don't think the approach to throw away all of the traditional methodologies is the right approach. That was part of our findings from this as well. But there is need for modernizing, for adapting. The technology in mines is changing as well. We need to also obviously align ourselves as educators and regulators and the sector with those changes. I think there's also a bigger uptake from youth with technology. And I must say, I've heard now that the previous presenters already, the link between the work packages is just coming through beautifully, and same findings between the work packages. So yes, there is definitely a need for us to also think that, or to incorporate something like VR training. As I said, it does not yet replace the current methodologies, but rather contributes to increased upskilling. Another big benefit is that the parameters for success can be manipulated as per the environment that is the requirement. So if we, for instance, take the VR drill wall, if there's specific markings that needs to be done for platinum, we can use that specific for platinum. It can be set up and customized specific to that commodity or to the work site. Depends on depth, obviously, your drill parameters. If it would be different for gold again. So I think that's a big thing that we can now use with new technology. We can customize it, we can align it to the needs of site as well. So a big benefit of that.
Lovely. Thank you, Bessel. So, and you've already started to speak about this. I think when we look at the mining context and constraints, how are these considered in the application of VR training? I know mines are concerned about things like the weight of the drill, the infrastructure needs, which all the speakers have already indicated that, this becomes critical for the mining company itself, aging workforce, how, can they kind of adjust to this, literacy levels, in terms of the costs itself for VR or any digital kind of training, licensing, etc. All these things becomes questions in the minds of mining companies. How were these considered in your study? Thanks.
Very much so. Nancy already started speaking about terms like digital literacy. Now, if we look at how some of this technology has been designed, it's a intuitive design methodology that was utilized to do that. So a simple example is, how would we use our cell phones? What would you naturally, where would you want to click? What is a natural feel for you to interact with it? And I think the technology is built up around that so that it's intuitive for the human to interact with the technology. So digital literacy has been addressed in part through that. I still think there's the need for, some of the findings was that there was still the need for instructor-led portions where the instructors with the individual there, especially with the aging workforce, where people might be hesitant to go and interact with the technology. But again, intuitive design was a big outcome of that. We tried to address it through that. VR is not a natural operating environment, and the developers are working towards making this more user-friendly continuously. So I think that's a big thing. Currently, the things like the VR wall takes considerable setup and space. We need a dedicated area. We need a dedicated infrastructure towards that. The drill rig is a simulator that can be set up on a desk. So again, depends on the type of technology, but still requires some physical maneuvering space. So a big thing around that, Shireen, is that if we are looking towards incorporating this into a strategy of incorporating technology for training and upskilling of miners, it needs to be a broader business decision that needs to be taken as well, because the technology is not a cheap solution. And there is some expertise that's required for the setup in a training center. There's obviously licensing costs that need to be considered as well. The technology is really, it's strong technology. I think there is future potential for this. But there's obviously things like post implementation support that needs to be considered by mine operations. But as I said, there's great future potential to make the technology more mobile and even more realistic as to the actual environment that the miners operate within. And it's very exciting things like the sensors, smell sense that they're busy working on, the hearing sensors, so that they're busy incorporating into the technology. So a good way forward, I think it's still at a lot of steps to be taken into creating it even more mobile and user-friendly at the end of the day.
Thanks, Vessel. Everything sounds exciting, all these developments and innovations. So we're looking forward to the more modernized training approach, but as well as towards, it's still remaining blended in the sense that we still have a place for classroom training, etc. I think just the last question from my side, because we're also going to be joining you in room 3 shortly in terms of your demonstration, in terms of your solution itself. I think just a very high level and very quickly from the study itself, what were some of the key takeaways, lessons, findings, etc.? Thank you.
I think part of the major findings from the study is that there is the need to use that blended approach to education and the upskilling of miners. We can't do a simple switch off, switch on into new methodologies. A single methodology might not be the best approach for our training centers. It addresses many of the previous concerns that you've already raised in your previous question as to the aging workforce, etc., and the literacy levels. So blended approach is one of the big takeaways out of this, as well as the benefit of VR is that it's done within a controlled environment prior to entering a workspace. Now, we understand that underground mining and mining overall is not a easy environment. It's not a comfortable environment always. It's not always a safe environment. It's still something that is not just natural. And this VR solutions provide a base parameter for us to go and assess individuals prior to them entering a workspace, or to also just further upskill them. If we are seeing that something's wrong, it provides a safe and a healthy environment which is controlled by the facilitators, by the training centers, by the operations, which is a big benefit for us at that stage. And there, an assessor or facilitator can gauge prior to entry of the capacity of the upskilling of that individual. And then Nancy also started addressing some of it. Our regulators and the training regulators have started incorporating certain terminologies and things like the CCFOs for the adoption of technology and digital literacy. But one of the issues is that the training material for the machinery that we actually looked at and the miners is still, it's still old, if I can call it that, to be very blunt. It has been updated into the technology, so that's a positive, and that's why we say again, classroom plus the other one, blended approach. But that there is still a need for the regulators to catch up a little bit in terms of the type of technology that is out there, but also writing that into our unit standards and the actual assessment criteria and so forth. It's a difficult thing to undertake. And then we've got another portion, as I said, the technology is customizable. We can set the parameters as per the site requirement for platinum, for gold. And again, it can be engaged as on-the-job coaching in a safe environment. And then although there is the use of intuitive design, there might still be the need to increase digital literacy even further. A term like gamification came out as well, which actually encourages people to interact with the technologies. Now we are competing in a friendly manner with each other as learners, as to, let's say, face wall marking. Okay, so we mark in the face as to our accuracy. Now, Shireen and I, we are both learners. Shireen marks at this accuracy, Vessel marks at this accuracy. It is measured immediately. The facilitator can see, they can correct behavior. And I think that's an excellent thing for the future. Again, I think next step, mobility. That's part of the key word. So yes, I hope that answers the questions.
Yes, thank you, Vessel. Thank you so much. Sounds so exciting. We're going to join you in room 3 shortly after this.
Room 3. Perfect.
Thank you,
Shireen. Appreciate it.
Thanks. I think in terms of the last work package, which was work package 4, it was around AR training for rock drill operators. And I'm going to invite CSIR, Marius, who was the lead researcher, to actually be in the hot seat as well to answer a few questions regarding the project itself. Marius, if you can put your video on and introduce yourself, thank you.
Good morning, Shireen. My video should be on.
Yes.
I'm Marius from the CSIR, and I was the technical lead on this project. This project was done in conjunction with the CSIR Win-Win International Product 1 and Locktrust Solutions. It was, and it still is, a privilege to be part of this project. I need to mention that everything that Vessel said is actually equally applicable to our augmented reality solution, except that I think we're a bit better on the mobility part that he mentioned that he still needs to focus on.
So Marius, thank you. I must say you're looking very sharp this morning. Lovely. So Marius, this solution has considered AR training for RDOs. We know that it's so unique, exciting, and innovative for the industry. And why is this so?
Thanks, Shireen. Our solution was certainly unique. And I'll tell you why. Our research could not find that AR have been used specifically for the marking of drill holes suggested here, anywhere else. So I think SATCAP was pioneers in this space, so it's unique by definition. It is also innovative because the AR solution was not based on AR alone, AR meaning augmented reality. Our AR solution combined the application of AR software, tablet devices, and integrating it with underground communication system, culminated within the training material that is animated, digital, and localized in a just-in-time learning concept, which is very 4IR-like and very innovative, I think.
Yes, lovely. Thanks, Marius. So Marius, again, I know that this was a question of concern for the mining companies. And I know Vessel has answered most of this, and you said it's kind of very similar, but I don't know if you'd like to add on. In terms of the mining context and constraints considered for application of AR training, again, like the IT equipment, Wi-Fi, infrastructure, aging workforce, literacy levels, costs, etc. Is there anything that you'd like to add or kind of just give us a quick feel around that?
Shireen, we were challenged with this during our piloting. The solution we are proposing has not been commercialized yet, so it's very much explorative in nature and themed as the art of possibilities. But this development was designed using the mining context and constraints as input parameters and learning from the other sectors, especially the military, for instance, where these technologies were used to complement the mining context version thereof. So some of the constraints that were mentioned, for instance, is the challenges with lighting underground were mentioned, because our AR solution needs a certain amount of light to work. So this is compensated not by adding more light necessarily, but using AR devices that can compensate for the lack thereof. Surely there are limits, but we don't foresee that the mining will work in total darkness soon. So I think that will be okay. Using the tablets with gloves, where gloves is a compulsory part of PPE, was a current limitation, is a problem. But we know that you can add touchscreen capability patches to the gloves. And remember, not all need to have this touchscreen type of ability. It is stated that every mine has different mine standards, and ask if a one-size-fits-all that we've proposed, of that we've presented, will work. So the answer is definitely no, of course not, but customizations is very much possible, and we actually asking you to do that. There were questions on audio, digital, and literacy skill challenges that were mentioned. Yes, there is a very strong assumption that the lack of skills required But you will be surprised if you physically confront the RDOs and miners on their proficiency using cell phone technology. We found most having surprising positive answers to it and very proficient actually in it. So I think this is something that is starting to become better. There were questions mentioned about connection problems. I think we've addressed this very well within our solution with the technology that we got from the military, where they fight wars in submerged environments like tunnels, underground, and caves, and the likes. About time. So cost and licensing challenges are something that exists. We've not fully qualified it yet, but it sounds like the service providers will induce some form of IP cost, but that could be negotiated with the service providers themselves.
Lovely. Thank you, Marius. Thank you for all those insights. Really appreciate it. So in terms of what have the, I know you've done intensive pilot studies around your project itself, and I'm not sure whether you have these insights, but what have the mining companies cautioned for the consideration around RDO training? And I know maybe you have spoken to some of these points. Is there anything specific that maybe you'd like to mention?
Yeah, we've realized that mining staff do not really know what AR is and what it does. So we feel that there's a bit of awareness making that is needed. Mm-hmm. The observation was that the majority of roles applicable to our AR training were proficient in using smartphones, like I just called, and the applications within the smartphones. And that gave us a very positive hope that this could be used. Consensus were that having training material ready available underground in a language of choice would be ideal. I don't think any one of us could argue it, but I submit it must be blended with the current classroom training type of approach. RDOs confirmed that if training are available on the tablet with them at the workplace underground, it would support their operations, and I think our solution actually provides that capability. It was mentioned that the technology that was introduced during this recent research to allow real-time communication in the form of voice, video, and data will open additional abilities other than AR. There were remarks on MQA qualifications and code of qualifications that are very equipment focused and less on critical skills thinking. I think this was alluded to in some of the other opening remarks. So this MQA alignment needs to be considered as part of the training material development and to ensure compliance. I think I'll stop there.
Yeah, thanks, Marius. I think, most of the studies have already indicated that if we need to look at the modern skills demands, our TVETs, MQA, the universities, etc., all will have to actually look at revising, reviewing the curriculum to actually look at modern training for a modern workforce. So thank you for those insights. I think just the last question from my side, Marius, is what would you consider as a value add for mines for implementing AR training? Why should they do it?
AR provides an interactive experience in a real-world environment where those objects does not necessarily exist, but an object image is enhanced and made visible by computer-generated perceptual information. This is an AR value add by definition in any case, so that's a value add. But listen, AR alone is not the value add alone. AR alone is not the value adding, however. Our study included AR with communication connections and devices such as tablets as part of the mining wearables, and combined it with the digitalized, localized, just-in-time learning capability and content. This combined platform provides the value proposition to use AR, because these are well positioned for other applications and technology integration using AR. I hope it makes sense. So this is a good platform that we could actually adopt for other AR applications apart from what we are going to demonstrate this now.
Good, Marius, and thank you for that. I think importantly, which maybe you didn't mention, is that, we actually synergized and actually collaborated as well with RTIMS around this, because the work you're doing on the RTIMS project actually helped to support the SATCAP project itself. So thank you for that, Marius. But I know you
good one.
a little bit later, actually speak around that when we're speaking about the transfer for the industry itself. So Marius, thank you. We're going to be joining you in room 4 shortly. And I think, you were so excited to actually do your demonstration that you said to me, Shireen, make sure you join my room today. So I'm encouraging people to join room 4 for some innovative insights around this AI project. Thank you so much, Marius. Thank you.
Thank you, Shireen.
Thanks. So I just want to say thank you to the researchers for their efforts on the projects. I think they really went out on a limb and really tried their best in terms of this project. There were lots of demands put on them in terms of this project. But I think importantly, it's very evident from the discussion. And when it comes to the digital training, that we can't adopt a one-size-fits-all approach. Mining companies at varying degrees in terms of their modernization journey. But some of the quick findings that I've picked up in terms of the project and from the discussion today is that we know that mining companies are using VR, AR training. They are using various training digital methods, and that their contexts differ, and that maybe a blended learning approach is most preferred by mines. Classroom learning, on-job and on-shaft learning still remains important. Digital learning may still be used meaningfully for refresher training and back from leave training, or even for remote and self-learning more readily. We also noted factors like literacy levels, age of the workforce, the pitch and the level of the training needs consideration in terms of the approach around digital training. We also noted that mines have infrastructure differences, and so Wi-Fi and other infrastructure needs for digital training will need to be considered by specific mines. There's also financial obligations when we think about digital training. So these also need to be considered by mines. Things like licensing costs, etc., will have impact. We know that digital training may sometimes not allow for physical factors to be taken into account directly, things like the weight of the drill, etc. So digital training should be complemented with training with other training methods, for example, training on the actual drill itself, and that the pilots conducted also suggested that as mines cannot be expected to switch on, plug into digital training, their needs, specific context, their modernization strategy, stakeholder inclusion will actually inform their transition to modern training. So thanks for that. I think in terms of the program itself, the item that follows on is the project's virtual demos. Now, before we actually go into that, Vessel, I know that you might have noted some questions. Are there any questions that we should consider now, or can we actually park them for the project demos themselves?
Shireen, no, we can park them for the project demos. I think there was just a day in the life of, but that one of the participants commented on to say that they use this as part of their inputs, the VR solution to the assessors and the moderators. So it's a good pathway into understanding the bigger structure and where my role fits in. So good comment there. And then lastly, I would just like to request, we have posted in the chat how to change your name. Part of the registration process, Shireen, I think the registration did not pull through each individual's name, so they come up as Tsepo Chabalala. Now, I know there's only one Tsepo Chabalala on the session, but the names of the participants still come up as his name, because it goes back to the host's name, unfortunately. So if we can just ask for the participants to make sure that your name is correct, you will see that to do so, you need to click on your own name, where it will show Tsepo Chabalala me, and then click on more, and then just rename yourself. I will just post the instruction again into the chat box for instructions on how to do that.
Thank you so much, Vessel. Thank you for those comments, and thank you to the audience. If you could actually then park some questions and comments as you are now going to engage in the project's virtual demos. I think if Seppo can put us the program for us, we can actually see where we are now in terms of the program itself. The item that follows is the project virtual demos, and it's actually to showcase the art of possibility, modern training for modern mining. To note, SATCAP projects promote collaboration. So aside from the research institutions involved in the projects, OEMs have made valuable contribution to these projects. You will be able to interact with all the research team during the next session, as well as the OEMs. And later, during our session today, we do have a session which allows for getting more information about our OEMs through the virtual video collage. Just to remind you, we actually have 4 breakaway rooms. So in terms of the breakaway rooms, the researchers, we have work package 2.1 in room 1, which is the supervisory leadership development program. We have work package 2.2, which is the digital literacy for AIT and youth, and that is in room 2. We have the VR miners training, that's in room 3, and then the RDOs, AR training, that's in room 4. And we know that researchers have accommodated time for audience inputs, comments, and questions. And the session is also for validation, to actually check what we are doing, whether we're on track, whether it's going to work for the industry itself. So feel free to make some inputs there. The breakaway session is about 50 minutes in duration. Actually, we might be able to accommodate 5 minutes more, so it's potentially an hour. What I'd like you to do is to please join in. You'll see that there's a breakaway portion at the bottom of your screen that you can actually join whichever room you'd want to. And then thereafter there'll be a 5-minute coffee break. So then please join us back at 11:35 with your coffee in hand. So I'd like everybody to please go into one of the breakaway rooms. If you find there's too many people in your breakaway room specifically, go into another breakaway room so that you could actually meaningfully engage and give input there. What I'd also like to suggest is that I'd like the research leads to please remember to record their sessions. So thank you so much. Please let us go into the breakaway rooms. Thank you. I see people have not left the main room. Right at the bottom of your screen, you'll find 4 blocks that says breakout rooms. If you actually press on the breakout room, it will allow you to go into either room 1, 2, 3, or 4, and then you join that room.
Sorry, Shireen, how do we join the room? Because I can see I've got the option, but it's not allowing me to move there. I'm Charlotte.
Okay. Okay, Charlotte, yes, thank you. So press the 4 blockies that says breakout room.
Yes.
Right, so go in there and then you see room 1, supervisory lead, and it's a blue block that says join. Then you join. Or if you want to go into another room, join.
So if you are also not able to join, please let me know so that I can manually assign you to a certain room. So you can just let me know which room you want to join. Then I will manually assign you to that room.
Okay, so maybe
sorry, Shireen. I'm trying to check room 4 here. I'm unable to go to room 4. I'm only able to see room 1 and room 2. Yet I'm interested in room 4. Yes.
Okay. Sipho, maybe just help the people to join the specific rooms that they want to go into. Sipho will assist you.
I've placed you on room 4. It's David Zenzo, right?
Okay, is there anybody?
Me...
All those who are having problems with joining a room, please let Seppo know. I can see there's still quite a few people that might need to join a room. Okay, so thank you everybody for joining us again. I'm hoping everybody's back in the room, but from what I've seen is that maybe some people are still getting their coffee, but we have about 75 people. We had 88 this morning. There's still 75 with us at this point in time. So thank you for rejoining us, and we hope that the sessions were very insightful and that you were able to ask all your questions. Now, from what I've seen from the sessions, I think there were 1 or 2 questions around what is the value of these projects for the industry and what will we actually be transferring to industry itself. So we know that mining companies are at different stages in terms of their modernization journey, and mining companies are doing modern mining to varying degrees based on their context. Some operations are more modernized than others. Some are still, looking at conventional mining. Even approaches at the shafts actually differ. But we're hoping that we have some takeaway for all of the mines. Obviously, we can't give everything to everybody, but there is something that you can take away from this. So it could just be recommendations from the report. It could be a training module. It could be an aspect of the training modules, etc. And to give you a taste of what we are offering to the industry for potential use, I would like to call on Marius, who's actually going to show to us what we will be providing as transfer to industry. Marius, also just note the time and let's highlight at high level what's available for the mining companies. It can be modules, it can be videos, it can be training slides. We also have transfer for mining students, graduates and interns through the University of Johannesburg. So there's lots of tidbits for everybody that we are offering. And Win-Win International will share that thinking with us, because obviously we had to put some modules, equipment, etc. at UJ itself. To the audience itself, please feel free to again post your comments and questions on the chat box. Marius and the team will try to assist you with your queries. And please also note that the aspects indicated for transfer will only be available and accessible after March 2022, as our projects are still being finalized. We still have to do final reports. We still have to finalize training modules. We still have to finalize all the things that will be transferred for industry. And also note that in terms of the portal that Marius will be showing us now, it is going to be password protected. So you would need to make contact with us should you need that information for your mining company to be able to use. Also note that there will be summary reports available on the Mandela Mining Precinct website from April, May, etc. So Marius, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Shireen. Thank you. Again, my name is Marius Auret. I'm from the CSIR, and I'm going to introduce and guide you through the EA portal. The EA portal is actually an RTIMS initiative. In the RTIMS program, an enterprise architecture model and portal was developed to capture what each of the projects were and actually are still doing. The purpose was to help ensure RTIMS consider its research from an enterprise perspective. What I mean by that is, example, if you look at a specific technology, you would miss out what that technology relates to in terms of the organization of the mine, or the processes that needs to be put in place for it, or the systems and the information that it needs, and all the rest. So we needed to architect the whole of the solution, or at least know what we did not address so that we could address it later. So the SATCAP project was not architected in a similar manner, but its research were added as position holders within the model to ensure visibility and the ability to integrate it with the architecture that exists when and where appropriate. For this reason, we subsequently developed a bespoke handle that portrays the SATCAP related content, and this is what we will show to you today. So an enterprise architecture model describes the mine in terms of when, where, how, what, who, and why. It is like the periodic table in chemistry of things that you have to describe within the enterprise. So this architecture model and portal is hosted within the Mandela Mining Precinct to provide accessibility according to the precinct's prerogative, and access to this can be requested from the RTIMS program manager at the mining precinct. The following slide is just for interest, but important to provide you context of what you will be seeing. So the architecture consists and is built around a meta model. So a excuse me for that. The meta model depicts the building blocks for each element that makes up the architecture. So example, in work package 3 and 4, you would remember that we've described virtual and augmented reality technology. So if this was the technologies, the things that you need to actually describe to make it an enterprise perspective is the processes that you need that would actually help you with that technology. The training material were described somewhat in those ones, so that it would be recorded there, the applications that is needed for that technology, linked up to the functions. We know that it was related to specific roles, but it didn't show you how those roles would have to extend it in what we are proposing here, and how that would fit into the organization, and how that would contribute to organizational objectives. So this model, this architecture would have provided us with the guidance of what it is that you have to architect in your thing. So know about this, but forget it. Just know that we've built it on top of this. I hope it makes sense. On top of the meta model, a portal was developed as a user interface to view the model from various perspectives. So this is the landing page. You will see the contact information to which you can complain or give accolades to JJ at RTIMS. So although this portal is rich of architectural information and predominantly done for RTIMS, we will only be focusing on the SATCAP related tab. So yeah, so right, and knowing it is much more, much more, but this is a story for a later opportunity that I can present. I'm going to switch to the actual portal, so glitches are bound to happen, but just bear with me. Right. Right. So so there's a SATCAP tab under which we've combined the related project components. So underneath the SATCAP tab, now you will find all SATCAP related content. The program tab contains legacy information of the SATCAP pre-2021, and followed with a tab for each of the current 2021 projects or work packages as we refer to it. So various links have been provided, are available that will navigate you to a list of folders containing reports of previous years, on reports on stuff that's been done in the previous years, workshops and study tour summary reports, images that have been taken from the various events, and images taken from the terms of reference event, which sounds like it was a memorable event. In this tab displays content of work package 1, that relates to the study tours that were conducted as part of this program scope. Links to the following have been made available: overview video of the study tours, invite records to the various stakeholders for this tours, a summary report of the tour, a list of photos that has been taken at the various study tour events at UJ, UP, and BITS. And I won't spoil the last one. This is something that will come up just now. On this tab, it displays content for Work Package 2.1 that relates to supervisory leadership program. You would have been introduced to the wonderful work that has been done in the Breakaway. On this tab, you can access to what was presented today and more. The content is sort of categorized as follows. Project milestone reports. So here you can get access to all the deliverable reports that have been compiled during the study. You will notice that the final report is still missing. This is because we're still going to compile it and will be available end of March, safe to say. The transfer to industry section, herewith you can see records of things that have been done or developed during the work package. It includes links to the video giving an overview of the supervisory programs and modules that have been developed. I would urge you to go and watch it. It's quite interesting. Links to the specific program modules that you've watched and experienced during the Breakaway that you can actually play with on yourself, which you would have gotten insights of during the Breakaway session. Once the exhibition is over, we would place the link to the Breakaway session recordings that you can view it in your own leisure. In the pilot section, herewith you view the records of the piloting that has been done. It gives you access to the photos taken during the pilot event, a summary video made of the event, and view a copy of the pilot report that was compiled containing the observations, findings, and recommendations that were experienced during the pilot. On the technology catalog, this is the catalog. It provides a list of programs and modules that were applicable in the scope of our supervisory leadership programs, of which the first 3 modules were transformed in digital, immerged, and animated formats. And however, only the first 2 modules were made available to the industry. The remainder are programs that exist as unimmersed formats, which could be considered later or through take-up by the industry with the applicable service provider if so wish. Note that where the links are not yet available, it means that the content are not yet ready for upload and will gradually be provided at the end of the project. So the service providers is a section listing the collaboration partners and service providers that were involved during the work package that we are acknowledging, and with a link to the applicable sites relating to them. You would see that the remaining work packages tab follows a similar pattern. So in this tab, it displays content for Work Package 2.2 that Ingrid and the team from WITS mesmerized you during the Breakaway session, I'm sure, and relates to digital literacy and other stuff. On this tab, you can get access to what was presented today and more, I hope. And I hope that I give Ingrid justice with this presentation. Similar to the previous tab, you can get access to project milestone reports. Also note that the final reports still need to come. The transfer to industry. Herewith you can see research records and content transferable to the industry for your consideration and leisure to view in your own time. I see that the links are not yet there, so it will be provided soon. So I'm not going to go through the items, and Ingrid from BITS would be able to elaborate if there's any questions on those. I would still have to add on those links. The module catalog. In the module catalog, various references are accessible of similar courses by other parties in the form of presentation videos or other. The OEM show and tell. There's links to other OEM show and tell material that were added for your interest. Right. So this tab displays content for work package 3 that relates to virtual reality training for miners. Like before, you can get access to what was presented today and more on this tab. Similarly, it provides access to the project milestone reports, which you now understand. Transfer to industry. An exciting library of videos are provided showing the VR simulating training material, how the installation of the blast wall and drill rig was done at the UJ simulator mine, and some other stuff. So this will provide you access to that. On the technology catalog, a list of technologies used or provided are listed as indication of what the industry will get. In the OEM show and tell, we have provided links to the OEMs in this space showing what else they do and provide, and we've provided that to so that you can have a look at what they are doing. Sorry for that. In terms of service providers, we've gone through that. It's we just acknowledge the collaborations and the service providers that were involved in this. The last tab. So at this stage, I'm sure I'm sounding a bit repetitive. This is the last tab. However, this tab relates to the work package that I was directly involved with, so I need to give it justice. It displays content for work package 4 that introduces the very interesting and exciting concept of augmented reality training for RDOs and miners. Without going to everything, I want to make you aware on the following. The student report that you can see here helped us hugely on what the mining companies cautioned us on, and was part of the design parameters in our development consideration. So that was an interesting report to go and have a look at. The transfer to industry section gives you access to the standard operating procedure that has been introduced and the animation clips relating to the AR experience. A special note you can expect here are localized animated training in the language of choice. So there's some few language clips that you could have a listen to and look to. Readable, available at the workplace underground. Just-in-time learning has made possible that the set of technologies provided this work package. Okay, that sentence doesn't make sense. So the set of technologies that we provided in AR makes it possible that we can do just-in-time learning. That's what I mean. We learned from and introduced military technology in the form of communication mesh network that allows communication in non-line of sight, making communications and connections possible in the last 200 meters of a mine stope where these type of technologies doesn't usually exist. So 4R technologies in the form of tablet devices, which brings a series of inherited functionalities not previously so available underground, like voice, video, and data sharing, and the taking of photos and videos for record, and of course, lastly, the AR technology itself that we used. And note that this AR could be actually extended to various other uses than this L marking of drill Ls. In the technology and catalog section, there's a list of technologies that were delivered in this work package. And it was quite extensive in the form of physical stuff like ruggedized tablets, the AR applications. We have a stope banner wall that you could use because it's so mobile. If you want to show someone how it works, you could use these banner walls and put it up anywhere and show the AR against those walls. And it's easily, you can easily construct it and take it down. And the underground stope communication system, which is an RTIMS item we integrated with. So I'm closing off. This work package was a pioneer to show that projects can be integrated between SAMARI programs. And I think that, Shireen, you alluded to this in the panel discussions, like we did here with RTIMS integrated with SATCAP. So I think at this point, this is enough from me. Thank you. I will be unsharing now.
So Marius, thank you for those insights, but I know we've just got a few minutes more in this session. And I'm just going to ask each of the research leads, simply because I know that the industry is with us today, and they want to know actually what is it that they can take and use. And I'm not talking about the reports themselves. What is it that they can take and directly use on their minds? And I'm going to ask again that each of the research leads actually come in and tell us what is the solution that the mining companies can just take from us now and actually readily use on their minds. So I'm going to start with work package 2.1. Sumaya, if I can just come back to you in terms of the supervisory leadership development program, what are the modules, the training videos, the training slides, the training material that they can take and use? So Sumaya, maybe if I can just ask you, what is it that the mining companies will get so that they can take and use that directly aside from reports?
Okay, thanks, Shireen. For work package 2.1, the supervisory leadership development modules, modules 1 and 2 will be available to industry for their use. So the companies and supervisors can actually see, okay, how are these modules developed? What concepts can we use from this? And if we want to take up the remaining 5 modules, how can we further customize this to suit our needs? So although modules 1 to 3 was developed, two of the modules are available for industry use.
Thank you so much for that insights. And then aside from that, in terms of the digital technologies, Sumaya, because remember, in line with the supervisory leadership development, the modules themselves, there's also digital technologies attached to that. Has there been guidance and suggestion around that in terms of what the mining companies might require or use or need?
Yes, so as mentioned, the 2 modules that will be available are the digitized modules, and the users can actually see how are these customizable and integratable into the actual workspace, and how can they be adapted for different purposes within the different supervisory roles in the mines. And perhaps Nico could add on to that. See, his hand is raised.
Okay, thanks, Nico.
Yes, thanks. We try to make it as simple as possible because mines, as you mentioned, Shireen, they are different stages of modernization using different platforms, etc. So at this stage on the RTIMS, it's literally just a link that they can click to take them to the first 2 modules and use it from there. As soon as you put it onto a platform, then it's registration and people's details, and they need to register. It makes it a little bit more difficult. So this was the easiest way to make it available to the industry by just clicking through to a link, and it will take you to a site where you can have access to the system from there. But again, if they want to customize from there, we can do it in a variety of different formats, but they have to engage with Win-Win International on that, and all to us. Thanks.
Thanks, Nico. Thank you so much for that. If I can go to work package 2.2, Ingrid, with regards to the offerings to the mining companies, things that they can actually, the solution itself that they can take and utilize. Maybe if I could just get your take on that, thanks.
Hi, Shireen. So yes, on the RTIMS module, there'll be links to our presentation and reports. And I mean, I think one of the most important aspects of that report are the recommendations, and a list of recommendations and questions on what to consider when selecting digital training, which I think is absolutely critical, the things that should be thought about before making decisions around that. And then there are also, again, as per the previous work package, links to the existing modules, that of Pearson and the Microsoft Digital Literacy Training. And then the exemplar module will be available. However, that is really just a component of a bigger training module. We just did it as it's an exemplar module, but that can be used. And in addition to support that, there is a training guide which provides the bigger module, the elaboration. So that will also be available on those links as Marius demonstrated. Thanks, Shireen.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ingrid, for that. If I can just go to work package 3, which is the VR miners module, in terms of the transfer to industry, exactly what can the mining companies use from your module, Vessel? Thanks.
Hi, Shireen. Perfect. Yes. So what we've actually done is we've taken the current modules, we've modernized it a bit, made it more accessible online as well. If you will allow me 2 minutes just to quickly project, share my screen so I can actually show a practical example of this. This is currently the material from Sibanya that we've actually incorporated and actually just modernized as well, with things like direct links into the online platforms. And an online platform like that would take you to something like this, where you actually have a module for the VR training of miners, where you can go and start your module with the learner guides and so forth, videos supporting that, etc. So I think it's still, again, the art of the possible for the future. So it's not finalized. We obviously need to go through the process of approvals, etc. But I think this provides also the operations a view of or a foundation of what they can take forward in their own operations at the end of the day.
Thanks so much, Vessel. Thanks for that. And then Marius, just from your side, for work package 4 in terms of the AR solution for RDOs, what is it that the mining company will get from you, the solution itself? What can they just take and use? Thanks.
Thanks, Shane. Currently, that they can take away tomorrow would be the reports, obviously, and all the video references that we've made showing how it is going to work. The SOPs and animations and publication specifications that they could take up now, and there's room that would allow for some customization by the industry for a time within this year that they could utilize. The AR process itself is in a process of being negotiated in terms of the licensing, how we can extend it. But the plan is that we would deliver all with the UJ mine to Henny so that they could already start using it for their students, and being available for students that would allow access to maybe industry if they would want to come and look, and then from there on take up. So like I've also indicated in the presentations and the breakaway, it was done in a very generic form. So we do expect that there should be some form of customizations expected, and I'm sure the service providers would be very happy to help them in that going forward.
Thanks. Thank you, Marius, for that. So to Marius and the team, thank you so much for that little information around what is available for industry, what they could use. And like I indicated earlier, there is some bit that mining companies could use depending on their journey in terms of where they are in terms of mining modernization. So it could be a little video, it could be modules, it could be actually reports, whatever the mining company would like to kind of look into and take further based on their specific needs. And I know that we're actually moving ahead of time. However, I would now like to invite Win-Win. As Marius has indicated, we have something available for mining students at UJ. And I'd like to invite Stuart from Win-Win International to just give us a quick overview of the thinking around this, and then what can we access at University of Johannesburg. Over to you, Stuart. Thanks.
Thanks, Shireen. Morning, everybody. Welcome. I hope you can just see my screen. Please let me know if you can't. I'm just going to pull up a short slide presentation, and then I'm going to take you on a tour of the virtual UJ mock mine as it is at the moment. So one of the SATCAP requirements was, how do students, miners and visitors make use of digital technology into the future in the form of learning. And this was one of the challenges. COVID exasperated it, but it worked in our favor. to do this. And this is focusing on how students, miners, and even tours can be utilized using this technology into the future. So what the team did with the collaboration partners is Winwin built a sample virtual tour for UJ. This is not in VR, so you can access this on your computers or your phones into the future. But the reason that we actually did it was the current challenges for students and miners is they have limited access to technology. So when we're talking about 4IR technology or AR or VR, well, what does that mean? Often even our supervisors and our managers are not understanding how this technology can be actually used. And obviously, for safety reasons, you can't get under mines. So there's obviously various universities and mines have mock mine situations. And as part of the SATCAP project to empower students and miners into the future, we created a virtual tour. So in this tour, I'm going to show you the tour in a few minutes. But as part of this virtual tour, you can do virtual tours and physical tours. What does that mean? Henny mentioned earlier in one of the breakout sessions that you can have teams, students or miners or supervisors or a part of your teams actually visit UJ. And even in a physical environment, you can use, which is in the mock mine, we'll show you how to use virtual technology as well underneath in the mine, or you can do it as a virtual tour and demonstrate the art of possible into the future. So in the tour, inside the virtual tours, you'll see just now, you can watch videos, you can engage with lecturers. In this situation, you'll see Henny engaging on the stope and a number of other areas. And then you can link in the virtual world, in the mine, you can link to other digital learning modules or environments. And I'll demonstrate that just now. It could be under the stope environment, it could be a refuse bay, it could be various technical aspects inside the mine. And then the other is inside a virtual tour, you can link environments to other technical training. So if the mine or university has other training departments, you can go to a technical department and see what modules they are doing. And we use a very simple technology to do that using the QR codes. So just to, before I show you a tour, you will see a number of examples shared today in work package 2.1, well, mostly in work package 3 and 4. You will have noticed the VR examples. This is inside the virtual mine already. You can have it in the physical space and go and experience it, or you can see the videos and experience some of that, the AR blast wall markings, sorry, the virtual wall, the AR blast markings, and then an augmented or a simulated drill rig inside the virtual mine. Some of the environments I'm going to just demonstrate, and these can be in any mock mines, but we've designed this for UJ, is you can show the stope area, the refuse bay. Inside the virtual assessment, you can have, you'll see a gully box. You can do assessments inside on your computer in this to show students how you might be assessed, or even show real examples of a mine in comparison to a mock mine. And then lastly, what we sort of worked with Henny on at the moment, and we're just finishing off, we used QR codes inside the mine, and the QR code then in your phone or even on screen, you can link to some of the work packages, current training modules, modernized training modules. So what some of the research leads were mentioning now, you can actually, through the virtual tour, scan the code, and you probably can do it just now on your phone, even on my screen, and you can link into some of these modules. And the QR code is there on the virtual tour. However, if you did a physical tour, if you took a team of 20, the QR code or an image will be also on the wall, like Marius was showing in augmented reality. And that just triggers a piece of technology on your phone or a tablet while you're actually doing the tour. So that's just a quick overview. I'm going to exit this presentation and go into the actual virtual tour. and this will be obviously on your within RTIMS, and you can go into UJ and have a look. I'm just gonna, this is just in my browser, so you can operate this out of your browser as well. And just mention, Shireen, shout if you're not seeing what I'm seeing, but you'll hear some noises. So this is the actual lift environment and the entry into UJ's mock mine. These are just some triggers. I can go into the mine environment and I can move around this mock mine as a student, as a miner, as long as I've got a computer, and I can go to different environments. As you can see down here, this is the UJ mock mine. If I go down there, I'll go to the gully box, and I'll see that just now. I'll come back and show you the QR codes on the walls, but I'm going to go to the stope environment because a number of work packages were related to the stope environment. So here in the UJ mock mine stope environment, we've got a refuge bay, and I can go and watch a video on that. I'm coming around to the stope area, and here's the virtual stope area. I can go and understand a little bit more about the stope area, and I'll show you this now. I'm going to press a little video. This is a short video of Professor Henny Grobler talking about the stope and related to gold and platinum mining in South Africa. Here's just an example.
That is a stope. So I am 5'9", 1.7 meters tall. So you can see this is about 1.3 meters, 1.2 meters high. It is a very clean stope. So this is where we would be mining that reef. This is once again a conventional stope with its support packs. So the guys would be in this position, drilling the face. You can see once again the net supporting the roof, as well as the temporary support that's placed. And that's the project we're busy with now, is to, in virtual reality, visualize where this drill holes will be going, and once again to charge them up and blast them. As I said, this is 1.2 meters high. This is a clean stope. Normally there's about 8 people in a crew working here, drilling with jackhammers, so you can imagine the noise and the humidity. There's probably about this much broken material on the floor. So you're working in a meter or less environment. So it's hard, tough, mentally demanding area to work in. And that's where all our gold and platinum comes from.
So that's just a short overview of their stope environment. This obviously could be related to any stope environment, but it gives the student an understanding of what the real environment's like. Inside this UJ mock mine, there's assessments, which we're adjusting and building. So I've just learned some things around rock drill operators in a stope environment, and I can be asked questions now and understanding. Here I go, and I'm going to answer this. Obviously, I know the answer, and I can, these scores my score. And in this UJ virtual environment, I can have a look. I can go into the refuse bay and understanding a video of the refuse bay, but you can go and have a look at that some other time. I'm going to go back to some of the other working environments, some of the work packages 3 and 4 that is inside UJ's mock mine. So there's an example here of a gully box environment. If I go into this, I'll watch a video of Henny talking about underground environments using the gully box. I can go to a technical training center over here and see another environment where technical training is being done in relation to the mock mine. I can go to the virtual blast wall. Some of you were in the session, and this was work package 3. And I can actually watch and understand what a virtual blast wall is, or I can understand what a drill rig operator simulator looks like, or a mechanized drill looks like. And I'll just show a bit of the video here. And some of you would have seen this part of the SATCAP project.
So we're at the UJ Mock Mine today, and we're installing a virtual reality simulator of the Sandvik DD321. It's a double boom drill rig machine, and the whole simulation takes place inside of a virtual reality headset. And we're focusing on drilling practices, good practices, collaring correctly, your right angles, drill depths, crosscuts, inclines, declines, everything you can think about in drilling. We're focusing on teaching people the right way to drill and not just focusing on aligning your boom to the hole, pulling your levers and going ahead. We focus on physics, displacement of weight.
I'm just going to stop that video. That's a 6-minute video, but it's related to work package 3. You can also look at the virtual blast wall, or in work package 4, you can look at the AR environment over here, which is the marking, the augmented reality marking wall. Also, which is great, as I mentioned lastly, inside the virtual mock mine, you've got QR codes in the virtual environment, but this will also be in the physical environment. And if I click this QR code, you can actually, if you've ever used a menu at a COVID restaurant at the moment, you can actually highlight this. I'll even zoom in on it. You can put this QR code up against your camera now, and it'll take you to the module in the UJ mock mine related to mechanized drill. And if I click it in the virtual environment, I immediately go through to the actual rock drill operator course that was developed in work package 3. I can understand this module a little bit more. This one's around a rock drill operator, which we partnered with Harmony on. The other one is with Savannah. And you can look at this information and use it a little bit more. So that's an example of what's happening at the UJ Mock Mine. This is a virtual tour, but can be used, as was mentioned in the presentation, as part of an actual physical tour as well. Shireen, that's all I've got to sort of mention. I don't know if there's any questions around that. That's just an overview of what was done for SATCAP this year.
No, thanks, Stuart. All good. I think, like we've indicated, there should be something for everybody, whether mining companies actually want to utilize what is on offer, whether we want to use it for, whether they'd like to actually take their students on tour. And I know that Henny has sent us a little message saying, please come and visit us. And, you know, they'd be happy to host us because we have had some sessions earlier this year. So I think they'd be pretty comfortable to host the mining company students, interns, graduates, etc. And they'd be able to experience VR, AR training, actually the leadership supervisory development modules, as well as looking what is on offer in terms of the digital literacy space. So that's what's on offer at UJ at this point in time. Thank you so much. Sipho, if you can go back to the program, thank you. Thank you so much, Sipho. Right. So we're at the space in terms of looking at our collaboration partners and some of the skills projects and presentations around that. Now, what we do know is that SATCAP actually collaborates with various stakeholders, including research institutions, CETAs, unions, MEMSA, MHSC, etc. So we have some key projects completed and underway that we'd like to share with you. I think the first important one is that during 2021, SATCAP actually conducted some immersion tours to 3 mining universities to immerse stakeholders in mining modernizations, and visits were held to the WITS Digimine, the UP VR Center, and UJ's Mock Mine. The immersions were supported through change management and reflection, and thanks to Rena Miller and Dr. Isabel Meyer for their activations during these immersion sessions. We have a little video gallery that will most probably take about 3 to 5 minutes to share on the immersion study tours. Sipho, if you could please play that for us, and then thereafter we'll go into the MEMSA presentation. Thank you.
Just to confirm, do you hear my sound? Can you hear any
Yes,
sound?
thank you.
From the
Yes, we good, Seppo. Thank you.
Jerusalema, ikhaya lami, ilondoloze, uhambe nami, zungangishilana. Jerusalema, ikhaya lami, ilondoloze, uhambe nami, zungangishilana. Dawo yami ayikholana, buso wami awukholana. Ilondoloze, zuhambe nami. Dawo yami ayikholana, buso wami awukholana. Ilondoloze, dawo yami ayikholana, buso wami awukholana. Ilondoloze, zuhambe nami. Dawo yami ayikholana, buso wami awukholana. Jerusalema, ikhaya lami, ilondoloze, uhambe nami, zungangishilana. Dawo yami ayikholana, buso wami awukholana. Ilondoloze,
Seppo, thank you so much for that. Maybe if we can just go back to the program, thank you. So I'm sure most of you have seen your faces on the showcase. So thank you so much for your participation at our workshops, at the study tours, etc. In terms of where we are now, we actually have the MEMSA Skills Project presentation, and MERSITA and NQA has advised that they will actually present at our upcoming workshops. So this morning we have Lucinda from Urban Econ who will actually present the study skills project. Thank you so much, Lucinda. Thank you.
Thank you, Shireen. Okay, I'm just starting my video. So good afternoon, everybody, and thank you to SATCAP and colleagues for inviting us to present our FYR skills-related project. My name is Lucinda DeLeo, and I am with Urban Econ Nikela, and I'm presenting the MEMSA FYR skills study research project that is currently underway. Thank you. Take the next slide. So for a quick background into the study, the research project is a partnership between MEMSA, the mining equipment manufacturers of South Africa, and MERSITA, the mining, engineering and related services SETA, to help develop an understanding of the 4R related skills required by South African manufacturers of mining equipment to help them remain competitive locally and internationally, and to also help them meet the changing needs of the mining industry. Urban Econ Development Economist and Urban Econ Nikela were commissioned by MEMSA to undertake this research. We are providing the research, strategy development, planning, and reports that will ensure that the local mining equipment manufacturing industry obtains the requisite for our related skills to be competitive in line with unfolding trends in the fourth industrial revolution, and in particularly as it affects the mining equipment manufacturing sector. The aim of the research project is to assist the local mining equipment manufacturing sector in defining the targeted skills and knowledge requirements to successfully embrace the fourth industrial revolution. Thank you. Next slide. Thank you. So this slide shows our research approach. The research for the project is divided into two phases as shown. The two phases focuses on identifying firstly the demand for the skills and secondly the supply of skills relative to the fourth industrial revolution in mining equipment manufacturing. Phase one includes the initiation and identification of relevant skills, competencies, and skills needs assessments given the impact of the 4IR. Key outputs from this phase includes the literature review, which we have concluded. It's a report that outlines key fourth industrial revolution developments and skills trends in the mining equipment manufacturing sector globally and locally. The report also includes a policy outline of national industrial strategies and plans, as well as providing insight into the skills implications of the fourth industrial revolution for the MEM or mining equipment manufacturing sector. Because the literature review serves as a backdrop and provides the context for the primary research of the study, we were able to use the initial findings from the report to workshop in the next steps of our research project, and namely the stakeholder consultations, which is the next step as shown in the slide. In this step, we involve and engage with various industry role players, including MEMSA members and local mining equipment manufacturers through virtual focus groups and online survey and case studies. So far, the stakeholder consultations have been key in validating or giving perspective to the findings in our literature review. Key 4R technologies have been identified as relevant to the industry, such as computerized maintenance of systems, digital twin technologies, predictive maintenance, and AR and VR technologies, as was discussed earlier in today's workshop as key examples. And we were able to probe into the specific context in the local space as we move further along the research. Phase 2 of the research project involves the Sepo? Okay, there was a bit of interruption. Okay, so phase 2 of the project involves the review of existing qualifications, skills programs, and courses through conducting a skills provision landscape review, which will result in a 4IR skills development report. This report, together with our initial findings from both the literature review and our stakeholder consultations, will produce an integrated report and initiate the development of strategic proposals, which will make recommendations for the design or modification of qualifications and programs to address the identified needs within the mining equipment manufacturing sector, in particular in relation to the fourth industrial revolution. These findings and draft reports will then be validated through further stakeholder consultations or final workshops at a later stage. Once the findings are validated, the strategic proposals will then be converted into a 2-year business plan and related activities. Thank you. Next slide. Okay, so this slide just shows where we currently are in the project. The project was initiated in August 2021. The literature review was compiled through September. The first set of stakeholder consultations took place in the October-November period, where we conducted 10 virtual focus groups with industry representatives, again, including MEMSA and MERSITA, manufacturing companies, government departments, universities such as UP and UJ, participated R&D organizations. We spoke to small business and labor union representatives, among other key stakeholder groups. Here, stakeholders are able to agree or disagree or even give more contextualized insight into some of our initial findings. These focus group sessions were instrumental in identifying the 4IR technologies that will be key in the local context, and they also help to shape what kind of skills development interventions will be necessitated in the next 5 to 10 years to ensure that the local mining equipment manufacturing sector doesn't lag behind technological advancements. The second set of stakeholder consultations involves the online survey, which is currently ongoing, but was rolled out in late November. The survey was administered to a sample of plus minus 300 mining equipment manufacturers and is informed by the research already completed. The third set of consultations will take place this January to early Feb. The consultations or case studies are informed by the survey results, and we will speak to 6 mining equipment manufacturers. They will be engaged to further enrich our understanding of the impact of the fourth industrial revolution on skills needs and skills development through gaining closer insight into the 4IR experiences of mining equipment manufacturers in South Africa. Phase 2 of the project is set to commence once the consultations are concluded. So in closing, the findings from the research so far are indeed interesting and already comprehensive. A lot of the findings from the primary and secondary data corresponds and speaks to the trends that are already seen in more developed markets. The impact of 4IR technologies will likely have lasting impacts or effects in the mining equipment sector as jobs, the way of work, and skills are transformed, or as it is commonly referred to in relation to the 4IR, they will be disrupted into the foreseeable future. We, as Urban Econ and MEMSA, along with MERSITA, are excited for what the next steps of the project will reveal. It is already becoming quite clear that the 4IR will affect change across the value chain of the industry, demanding organizational changes and increasing the demand for specialized knowledge and expertise. Next slide, thank you. So that is my presentation for the MEMSA 4IR skills study. Thank you, and thank you once again for the invitation.
Thank you so much, Lucinda. Really, really appreciate it. I can see we have a few minutes where I can accommodate some questions from the participants itself before we go on to just the last 2 aspects of today's session itself. If there are any questions, please feel free, and it's not only necessarily for Lucinda, but any of the other research leads and team. So if there's anybody who would like to pose a question, you may do so now. Okay, I don't see any hands going up. So in terms of the section where we are at now, we are at section 5, which is a video presentation collage. So I think just to say that during this year, in terms of SATCAP itself, we actually collaborated with many of the research partners who also then in turn actually collaborated with many OEMs. So in terms of that, we have OEMs who have worked with us in terms of design and development and supporting the different projects. And in terms of that, I'd like to hand over to Stuart, who will do a little intro and advise us in terms of the video presentation collage. Thank you, Stuart.
Thanks, Shireen. I just wanted to share my screen here. Sorry, my apologies. Let me just reshare it. Thanks, Shireen. There have been a lot of collaboration partners in this project, as you know, as Shireen mentioned. I'm not here to represent all of them, but just to highlight some of the collaboration partners that were involved this year and previous years. But I just wanted to reiterate some of the mentions of some of these. We struggled to get all the collaboration partners because of the end of the year and COVID and things like that. But as Shireen said, the research leads and the universities collaborated together, as you've seen in a number of the work packages in the Breakaway session. The CSIR guided, led two of the projects. Ingrid from WITS and her team collaborated on 2, and the University of Pretoria, obviously, on work package 3. All of these universities focused in around installation of elements inside the University of Johannesburg, which was amazing. These are just some of the OEMs and the e-learning partners or the learning providers, the multimedia organizations. Some of them are focused on development of content. Some of them are focused on learning technologies. Some of them are focused on supplying specific technical equipment and content, obviously. And some of them are really pulling all of those elements together. And just to highlight a few, but not able to mention all of them, a lot of them are represented in the videos that you saw in some of the projects. So organizations like HPE, Novatech, Epiroc allowed us to look at some really, really great tools and information that they've got. A number of the suppliers and the OEMs highlighted the challenges in mining environments of where current training material is at the moment. And what was really exciting in SATCAP in 2021 was that the challenges that we are facing, or mining environments and OEMs are facing from training material, is a real challenge. Often we look outside of our country and we think answers are better outside of South Africa. But what this collaboration amongst the universities, CSIR, and the various suppliers highlighted is that in South Africa, there is some really, really good collaborators with SATCAP and some unique service providers. And collaborating together allows us to focus in on creating the right change. As was mentioned earlier, it is complex and it is challenging. To highlight some of these collaborators, what's quite important probably for mines is, well, how do we get hold of and how do we make contact with? And we're just going to highlight some of the collaborators going forward. And I'll highlight some of the presentation slides on this. These are just some, and the next slide is just some of the collaborators. You are able to link into them, look at websites, videos, and obviously through RTIMS, as Marius mentioned, some of these organizations like Louis Allen are well established in the leadership and supervisory skills area. Media Works, as Ingrid was saying, with Pearson, was focused in on work package focused around the education of digital literacy. STS was a key contributor in work package 3. You can look at their virtual reality solutions and learning solutions. Win-Win was a collaborator across all of the projects and guided some learning solutions in the approach. Other organizations like Product One, which focused on augmented reality technology, was highlighted in work package 4. You can see that in UJ's virtual mock mine if you didn't see some of those with the marking. Logtra is a learning solution provider, has years of experience in the mining sector with standard operating procedure guidelines, which allows a lot of the challenges that we face to be linked to very, very clear instructions. Boiler Room as well was also contributing, and their collaboration is also focused in the virtual reality space as a supplier. So these were just some of the collaborators that have been involved in the SATCAP project in 2021. Their videos and their video material can be seen in a number of the links that you'll see as the project finalizes and the projects that were on today. Shireen, I don't know if there's any further questions on that.
No, not at all, Stuart. So just want to check in. Are we going to show any video of them, or should the audience just go into the various links of the suppliers themselves?
Yeah, I've only got the links. Sorry, Shireen.
That's fine, not a problem. So I think just importantly to note is that SATCAP is not actually promoting any of the suppliers, and that we didn't just select any of the suppliers. I think that these were suppliers that the industry is working with, and the industry kind of suggested that we needed to look at them when we are collaborating on projects. And so we did, and there are numerous other providers out there that definitely the industry can look at in terms of working with them going forward. I think just the last aspect, so thank you so much, Stuart, for that, really appreciate it, and thanks to all the OEMs for participating in our projects this year. And I think, Sepop, we can just go to the last part. It's just the vote of thanks and close. If you can just go back to our program. I know we're ahead of schedule, so we're going to actually finish in the next 5 minutes. In terms of the vote of thanks and close, I'd like to actually thank the funders, the DSI and the Minerals Council South Africa, for making research possible for the industry through the Mandela Mining Precinct. Thank you to the Executive Committee of the Mandela Mining Precinct for their support, guidance, etc. Thank you to the researchers for the research work conducted with such commitment. Thank you to the CSIR, WITS and UP for our 2021 projects. Thank you to UJ for the display and for assisting us to support the mining students further. Thank you to the OEMs for their participation and involvement in the projects. Thanks to the mines for their access given for data gathering, for the pilots conducted, for the inputs and information given into the projects itself. Thanks to Henny and the UJ team as well at UJ. Thanks to MEMSA and Urban Econ for their presentation today. Thank you to our Technical Steering Committee Chairperson, the Vice Chair, our TC members for their guidance and support in terms of these projects. Thank you to the Mandela Mining Precinct team and the SATCAP team, the project administrator, Sepo, today, who has done very hard work and as usual, does sterling work, and my intern. Thank you so much, Mafiwa, for all the support given and all the assistance and help given. A very, very big thank you to you for attending and participating today. I see we have still lots of participants who are with us. They haven't dropped off by the wayside, so thank you so much. we have participants from mining companies, Minerals Council South Africa, the precinct itself, MHSC, our research institutions, our universities, consulting companies, suppliers, CSIRs. So thank you so much for your presence today. And if you actually also still need information, please go to the Mandela Mining Precinct website to access information as it becomes available, or please actually then also contact SEPO should you still need further information. If there are no other further comments and questions, etc., from the audience, I'd like to say thank you for your support and participation.
Sorry, for the other participants, could you hear the closeout remarks there?
No, I've lost it.
No. We lost it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Just wanted to confirm. Shireen, if you can still hear us, apologies. The last comments there from you, unfortunately, got lost a bit. I think it might be a connection.
Can you hear me now, Bessel?
There we go. Now I can hear you. Thank you, Shireen.
Okay, so did you guys hear the vote of thanks? No.
Yeah, we heard most of the thanks. It just cut out towards the last minute there.
Okay, so thanks to I'm hoping that I've thanked MEMSA and Urban Econ. I'm hoping that I've thanked my technical steering committee for their support, as well as the Mandela Mining Precinct team, SATCAP, the project admin and interns. Thank you for everybody who has attended today. Minerals Council, the precinct, MHSC, research institutions, universities, consulting companies, suppliers, CSIRs, and unions. Thank you for your presence. And then to go to SEPO at the Mandela Mining Precinct website, either the website or ask SEPO for access to information. And thank you to everybody, and have a good day further. Be safe and God bless. I'm not sure if I'm knocked out again.
No, perfect. We could hear that. Thank you, Shireen.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Perfect. Thank you, Shireen. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Shireen.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Shireen. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, colleagues.
Jerusalem, ikhaya lami, ilondoloze, uhambe nami, zungangishilana. Jerusalem, ikhaya lami, ilondoloze, uhambe nami, zungangishilana. Dawo yami ayikholana, buso wami awukholana. Ilondoloze, zuhambe nami. Dawo yami ayikholana, buso wami awukholana. Ilondoloze.